This is a morbid thought, but those gaming chambers, I'm not sure if it actually looks like that in real life, but because I've never actually really seen an actual televised gaming tournament. I've seen a couple gaming tournaments, not all the way through, but they look kind of freaky. They look like little mini gas chambers or something. That's just, or something out of a science fiction where like you keep like a dangerous object or like some kind of criminal at bay. That's just me. If I was a professional gamer, I would not want to be playing a game in there. I wouldn't feel comfortable. Though the solitude and the quiet would probably help, but feeling like I'm trapped would probably rub me the wrong way. Why I'm not a pro gamer. Thoughts from Pong. And welcome back to another Pong Plays SC Duvierne. Let's go. So we finally made it to a VSL tournament and we're watching it with our new teammates. Nearly every seat in the spectator area of the VSL studio is taken. It's only with a wave from Jet and Reva that I are ushered past the back rows and into our seats over the side. Stunt is seated beside Jet and acknowledges us with a smile. With how differently the four of us are dressed, it'd be hard for anyone to tell that we're actually a team. Well, I guess technically we're not a team yet. Not officially anyway. With the thought on mind, I look to Jet and keep my voice low. Stage whisper, "Do we have a uniform planned?" Oh, hell yeah, I want a team jacket. The uniform we pick out of the team's war chest. Team's war chest. Oh, the uniform we pick comes out of the team war chest. It's stupid for us to splurge when we don't have any results. Stunt's longing stare doesn't fade away until Jet focuses a glare in his direction. Oh. The production crew is busy at work behind the scenes. There are way more VSL staff members than the stream lets on. People with clipboards and headsets pace the studio frantically, moving from team benches to behind the booths and then back again. Akel sits on the end of the bench with the rest of Crash. Their coach, a balding man with small eyes, a red nose, a clipped tie, paces back and forth with his hands in the pockets of his blazer, and takes out a few balloons, starts making balloon animals, and honks a horn. It just sounded like a description to a clown. Most coaches are usually retired players or have management experience. This guy has either got the latter or nothing. It wouldn't surprise me to learn that he's never played a game of StarCraft in his life. The players of Team Kane sit on the opposite side of the studio. Their coach is far more subdued and one that I actually recognize. The old B-tier Brood War pro that aged out of his ability to compete. Stunt leans over. Now, I got a thought. So how do you age out of pro gaming unless you start getting horrible carpal tunnel? Because it would be kind of like golf. You don't really lose it unless it's getting hard to like stand and walk and hold the club. It's really a game of skill, not a game of physical prowess to the same extent as something as like track running, where there's only a small time frame of being able to do everything that you should be able to do. I don't know. That's just a thought. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, because I would think someone that's really good at StarCraft would still be really good in their later years as long as they don't, lose their touch or ability to strategize on the go. And if they can still keep their typing speed and, reaction times at a decent level, I can still see them being a pro gamer even at the age of like maybe 35. If there's, I don't know. Maybe it's just a matter of what you're into, like your. Well, then again, if you're a Brood War fan, you're probably a StarCraft 2 fan, and any other kind of RTS fan. But whatever. I'm getting sidetracked. Set leans over to the Jet to whisper something, but before he can open his mouth, the Victory Star League's theme song cuts into and announces that the broadcast is about to get started. Korean Star Leagues have a weird fascination with alt-rock. Primarily. No. Primarily the chicken dance. The same songs from the embarrassing freshman year playlist blast unabashedly to stadiums of esports fans. So, something probably more along the lines, it's the end of the world as we know it. The crowd's cheers died down once they realized what song it is. No, only once the commentators give their introductions. When I look over my shoulder, I can see the table where they keep the two English casters. The duo is loved more for their laid-back banter than the game analysis. Not that if it's anything I'd change. There's no way for me to hear them without getting a headpiece. That'll make me look like a tourist. I'll have to settle for the Korean commentators. Welcome to the VSL. Today's first match is an exciting duel between Crash and Kane. As both are very solid teams... both are very solid teams that have been around from the very beginning of StarCraft 2. I am eager to see whether or not they show us good games. This is the furthest that Kane has been since the beginning of the StarCraft 2 Team League. Crash will need to make it to the VSTL finals if they wish to share that accomplishment. Indeed, they have a challenging path ahead of them, but I am certain that they are capable of returning to their former glory. My thoughts are the same. Only one of Kane's players remains on the VSL, so they should have plenty of time to practice for this match. Can the same be said for Crash? Certainly so. Crash's lineup is well tested and improved in the VSL. It's sure to bet that they're not neglected to prepare accordingly. Well, there won't be any jokes about cartoons from the 90s, but I should stay pretty well informed throughout the series. Oh, they don't have the color commentator. Any array of multicolored overhead lights announced the first match. Polished motion graphics and meticulously collected player statistics whiz around the display at the front of the studio. The VSL studio really has hype building down to a science. Who do you think Crash is going to send out first, Jet? Not a Kel, unless they want him getting snapped right off the bat. I nod. A common strategy in Team League is to have their mid-tier players spend all their practice time preparing specifically for one heavy hitter. There are other things to take into account too, like the map of remaining opponents, but there's no doubt that Team Kane has one of their players ready to take down a Kel. By the time I glance back to the stage, the first two players are headed back into the booths. Kel remains on the bench, eyes set on the same screen as the crowd. It is starting. Sure enough, once the players have their settings prepared and the coaches give the go-ahead, the match begins. You see... Who? I don't know who that is. I'm gonna have to check my Steam profile and check out who my friends are, because it keeps popping up people that have either friended me or something. Because I don't remember accepting them as friends. Where is this coming from? I don't know who you are. Message me. Tell me where you come from. Tell me if I know you from before. That would that would lay off the... If you're a fan of this channel, let me know. That'd be cool. I'd be okay with being friends with you on Steam. If you're somebody I know from the past, sure, that's cool too. Maybe we can throw back the old... I don't know. I can't think of anything. I don't know. I keep getting pop-ups from Steam because I'm playing this off of Steam. It's like, blah 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 is playing Insurgency. I'm like, I don't know who that is. Who is that? There's only a few people I know I'm not friended to that would probably have certain names that... But then again, he wouldn't be playing on a PC. I don't know. Yes, I know I'm getting sidetracked. This is called filler time. Sure enough, once the players have their settings prepared and the coaches give the go-ahead... Oh, I already read that. Spawning at the 7 o'clock position for Team Crash is a blue Protoss player, Jungle. His opponent from Team Kane at the 2 o'clock base is... Oh, this is the commentator. His opponent from Team Kane at 2 o'clock base is Shane. Protest versus protest. Close positions. This match won't last long. Mirror matchups are so stupid. PvP most of all. You don't know the intricacies. It can sometimes be really intense. Literally every strategy is a coin flip. PvP should be considered gambling and made illegal. PvP usually ends up with both players on one base. The decision to expand is often too great of a risk, especially with the players as close as they are. More so than the other matchup, mind games are essential to securing advantage. Reach too far with aggression against a balanced strategy, you lose. Go middle of the road against a tech build, you lose. Tech up against an attack, you lose. No one's a winner. Yeah! Yeah, Jangel and Shing both have opted for a 4 warp gate strategy. Prepare to watch these two clash. It'll all come down to their control. Or that can happen too. Even with Jet's grumbling, Stunt looks like he's enjoying himself. After all, this is a type of game he loves. Rev is paying attention, though likely only to note the inefficiencies of Crash and Kane. Both of the Protoss players complete their building necessary for their attack simultaneously, but it's a Team Crash player who's out on the map first. A proxy pylon near the Kane player's base will allow for quick frontline reinforcements. Things would be going perfect for Crash, if not for one small problem. The attack was spotted. Rather than answer with his own attack, the Kane player is holding his units back at home, and he's hiding half of them in a small corner of his base. I realize what's happening just as the Crash player makes his move. Without proper intel on his opponent, he feints a motion at his opponent's ramp in the hopes of learning what he's up against. But the Kane player doesn't even budge. No force field, no panicked chrono boost, nothing. No defense at all. After a moment's hesitation, the Crash player charges up the ramp fully confident that he's caught his opponent in a moment of weakness. For a moment, it looks like it was the right move. He heads forward to disable the Kane infrastructure, and has the exit cut off. The Kane player reveals his hidden units and surges into Crash force. Even though the battle begins with a 2 at an even unit count, the force field preventing the Crash player retreating also keeps the reinforcements from joining with his main army. Bum bum bum. Boom! Sparkles! Despite some of the excellent unit control, the dwindling Crash army is devoured by the ambush. Jangel taps out a GG. The first game goes to Kane. An exceptional trap set by caster, commentator, whatever. There's 3 of them. So caster. An exceptional trap set by Shing. The key was the position of his 3 extra gateways. He allowed the Crash player to catch sight of the single gateway, which led to a belief that there was a hidden tech at the back of the base. Excellent tactical thinking. Indeed, it would have to be too risky to find out with certainty what was coming next. He had to act. He should have cleared the path with his opponent's base before showing his units. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, is that... Oh, hey, I figured it out. It's a little rolly bar on my thingy. That sounded dirty. That could not have been more stupid. This is what happens in a matchup where scouting past the 3-minute mark is impossible. Kane is unfortunate that Jangel hesitated. Had he disabled the forward gateway in time, Crash would have been victorious. I aim my attention back to Crash Bench to see who they're sending out next. Akel turns back, then whispers to one of his teammates, and he starts heading for the booth. Finally, some ZVP. Better hope that Shing's all-ins aren't as pitiful as yours, Stunt. Oh, 2 minutes later, the Crash Zerg stands cross-map with a Kane player. Whoa, the match opens off slowly, but a sudden greedy opening from the Kane Protoss elicits a call for attention from the commentators. Yeah, how bold! The map does not lend itself to Nexus first, yet he has planned one down without pause. And it seems that it will be going unpunished. With one victory already, it seems that Kane decided now was an appropriate time to take a risk. This spells bad news for Crash. With a protest economy established so quickly, Zerg will struggle to survive his powerful mid-game attack. The commentator's warning shows itself to be well-informed one. The Crash player realizes his disadvantaged position too late. From inside the booth, he looks visibly shaken. I almost said The Shining. The Shining marches across the map at the 8-minute mark with an absurd number of Jack Nicholsons, not bothering to clear the watchtowers on the way over. His unscouted forward pylon allows him to power forward unchecked, with all work and no play. Boom! The Crash Zerg's clumsy defense is painful to watch. The game was decided by the 2-minute mark, even if it took the protest another 7 to play it out. Bum-ba-da-bum. Oh, that was embarrassing. Not my preferred all-in style, but I'll admit it has its merits. A sudden realization that the 3 of the 4 of us are on camera puts our conversation on pause. The VSL loves to show foreigners and girls in the breaks between games on streams for whatever reason. Riva shields her face and glances away while I wave and watch myself on screen with an undeniably awkward expression. The cameraman makes the mistake of panning past us to focus solely on Jet. Bum bum bum. Not a second later, the scene switches back to the casters. What kind of idiot doesn't drone scout? He went pool first. It was an easy, slow Ling rally for the win. The map lends itself to a typical Zerg playstyle. He mistakenly believed that if he could defend an early rush from Protoss, he would have an advantage going into the mid-game. I can already taste the extra large bibimbap. I'll take cash, Jet. Quiet. 0-2 isn't impossible to come back from. Bum-ba-da-bum. But Jet's confidence falters a minute into the 3rd game. The Kane Protoss immediately sends a probe across map, intent on deciding the game with an early rush. Scout around your natural, moron! It takes 2 seconds! And as if someone heard the order through the booth's soundproof foam, the Crash Zerg catches sight of the proxy gateways just as they finish constructing. A moment later and the game would have been decided. How will the Zerg react? He responds by throwing down a static defense on his main, a good option since a pair of his stationary spine crawlers are too strong to contest with a few zealots. He responds by throwing down static defense in his main, a good option since a pair of stationary spine crawlers are too strong to contest with just a few zealots. The hatchery finishes it despite the protest efforts to force a cancel. It looks like Crash is going to stabilize here, or would if not for... No, what are you doing? Stop! Jet takes 2 fistfuls of her own hair when the Zerg uproots a spine crawler and begins moving it down the ramp. The protest reaction is instant. The Kane player rushes in to take fight with the remaining static defense. Slash! Even with a handful of Zerglings and a queen aiding, the spine crawler falls into a single casualty for the protest. An unmistakable blunder. He aimed to defend his natural expansion with a second spine crawler, but failed to wait until he had enough Zerglings. Such impatience is going to cost Crash the game and perhaps the series. With the free pick-off, it's not long until the Kane player snowballs his lead into victory. Bum bum bum. One of his teammates charges into the booth and claps his back a dozen times, both of them smiling through some banter. It's stark difference from the Crash bench. All save Akel look ready to accept defeat. With a calm look back at his coach and a nod, he rises to replace his fallen teammate. It seems that Crash will send Akel as their final player. Will he be able to prevent the all-kill from Shing? We must take into account Kane's morale. The momentum in the series certainly favors the 4th and final victory. Stop that. Akel, do not lose. The people seated in front of Jet wince at the volume of her cheer, turn around, stare, and then realize that they were about to shush a VSL champion. By the time she's finished signing a phone case from one of them, Akel is in the booth and ready to go. Think you can bring it back, Riva? No single player on Kane can match Akel. I find myself in agreement with that, but Reva's specific wording and lack of conclusion leaves me wondering. Bum bum bum. What could be the final match when the day begins now? Akel against Shing. Who will emerge victorious? Akel looks at home in the booth. He shows the four of us a smile and thumbs up just before the game loads in. Bum bum bum. Despite the dire position his team is in, Akel wastes no time fighting back for control of the series. He deflects the Kane player's pressure with a well-positioned Marine force at the top of his ramp, killing off a zealot and scaring away a stalker. A vital maneuver. The protest now lacks information on whether or not Akel is expanding. How will he cover his position? Options. Akel's cloaked banshee is nearly complete. The Kane player hesitates and second later throws down an expansion. Jet heaves a sigh of relief, confident that the game is decided. Classic protest move. Don't think, guess. Bum 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 bum. It's true that if Akel had been expanding, the Kane player would have earned a slight edge. Instead, he forced to watch helplessly as Akel's banshee flies straight into the base and blasts his worker line to pieces. With a highly delayed and evidently begrudged GG from Kane, Akel puts Crash on the board. Yay! Ha! Salty that he didn't get his all-kill. Hooray for Akel! Why did the protest leave so early? He could have at least gone for a base trade or something. Are you kidding? Terrans have had base traders figured out for almost a year now. God, I wish I made my gateways could fly. I guess, but there's no reason to throw in the towel so early. Even if he was going to lose, he could at least try to wear Akel out of for the games to come. Akel could easily bring this back. But even with his team's first loss, the Kane coach looks confident. His gestures for one of the youngest players speaks to him for almost an entire minute, then sends him to the booth. And with that, I'm going to say this is actually a good point to cut off, just before the conclusion of this tournament. And wait until next time to see if Akel's team wins. Here on sensei-pong. Don't forget to like and subscribe.